This is a story about my loser dad and a strange entity that I saw when I was about 9 or 10 years old. My parents split up when I was about 9 years old. My dad was becoming a severe alcoholic, and my mom did not want to put up with it. Her own dad had been a violent drunk. Of course, I did not know any of this at the time. I just knew that dad was gone, and I missed him. My mom would still allow him over sometimes when he was sober, and we would play football together. Dad was a star quarterback in high school. I thought, maybe if I join a team, my dad will come and see me more often. I begged my mom to sign me up for one, and she agrees. She also agrees to let my dad take me to practice, so long as he does not drink. Happy. Fast forward. I am excited about my first practice. I get to hang out with my dad. When he picks me up, he seems distracted. Then he tells me he is dropping me off because he has to take care of something really quick. Turns out, he misses my entire practice. He is also late picking me up. Everyone else leaves. This is a kind of rural area, and the kids often went around on their own. I am all by myself for a while, until my dad finally shows up and takes me home. This goes on for a few weeks. My dad drops me off, disappears, and shows up late to pick me up. I start to think, maybe if I get better, my dad will start showing up. I begin busting my ass at practice. I start running drills by myself in my backyard. My entire focus is getting my dad's attention. This is when things start getting strange. Like I said, I live in a kind of rural area. The park where we practice is situated next to a large piece of forested land. One day, I am waiting on my dad after practice when I hear a thick splashing sound in the forest, like someone stomping through muddy water. It has not rained in weeks. I stare into the trees, and I can see a figure moving around in there. It looks big, but I can't really tell how big. Whoever or whatever it is, they are moving towards me. But Dad pulls up just then, so I hop in the car and go home. Seeing this thing, however, becomes routine. After practice, waiting alone, I will hear the splashing. Then I will see the large figure in the woods. One day, it comes out to the tree line. I can finally make it out, and I freeze. It's much bigger than I thought, as tall as some of the smaller trees, so maybe like 9 feet tall. The appearance is weird, and I almost can't tell what it is at first. It looks just like a mass of leaves and grass and sticks all clumped together. Keep in mind I'm a kid at the time, so my imagination might have exaggerated all of that. But I watch it move out towards the tree line fluidly, making that muddy splashing sound the whole way. Then it just stops, and everything goes dead quiet. We're out in the country basically, but I don't hear a bird or insect or even the wind. Then the eerie silence is broken by an approaching engine, and I turn to see my dad's car pulling up. When I glance back at the forest, the thing is gone. I see this thing on and off for a few weeks. Every time it shows up, everything goes silent, like someone put gauze in my ears. But I'm not afraid of it really. One day when it comes out, I wave at it. When I do, it seems to get bigger, like it inflates slightly. Then the total silence is broken by a shrill whistling sound that seems to be coming from the thing itself. The whistling is so loud that I have to cover up my ears. Then immediately it starts to rain. Luckily, my dad shows up and I hop in his car before getting too soaked. Fast forward a few weeks. This thing is beginning to follow me home in the tree line. My dad does not seem to notice at all, but I can make out its dark shape moving through the trees, keeping pace with the car. When we pass the forested area, it stays behind. With all of this weird stuff going on, I am still practicing each and every day. Pretty soon, it's clear that I'm the best player on the team, not to toot my own horn. My coach starts relying on me more and more, and the other kids seem to really look up to me. I'm beginning to make friends. Feels good, man. My dad even starts showing up to practice occasionally. He is coming to my games too, but every time he does, I get really nervous. I want to impress him, but when he shows up, my palms are sweaty, knees weak, you know the rest. It's not that big a deal though. He's not there all that often, so I usually do fine. We win a ton of games. Near the end of the season, it looks like we could even take the championship. Everyone is expecting a lot out of me. I'm starting to feel differently about my dad showing up. Not only do I choke every time he is there, but he is clearly not interested in me. This hits me hard. I begin to realize that the only people who care about me are my mom and my teammates, and they mean more to me than my own dad. They are my real family. Dad is just some guy who shows up late to pick me up. This is a lot for a little kid to process. But one day, I'm thinking about it after practice. I no longer wait alone, because my teammates and their parents usually wait with me. Dad is over half an hour late this time. I'm embarrassed that everyone can see just how little he cares about me. In my head, I'm thinking, I wish my dad would just go away and never come back. I then feel really bad for thinking about it. I try to joke it off and say that my dad is just bad with time. I tell everyone that they do not have to wait with me because my dad will be here soon. But one of the parents seems concerned. It looks like a bad storm. We cannot leave you out here by yourself. Let us give you a ride. These people are more concerned about me than my own dad. Damn. I feel like crying, but I just say okay. So off we go, and sure enough, the clouds begin to darken. The radio is mentioning a terrible thunderstorm coming. Up ahead, there are cops with their lights on, blocking off the right-hand lane. A car is overturned there off the side of the road, lying in a small ditch near the tree line. Leading from the car into the woods is a huge scrape in the ground, like giant claw marks in the grass. My friend's dad slows down as he passes by. He says, "That looks really bad." He does not recognize that it is my dad's car. The cops are standing near the giant scrape in the ground, shining their flashlight into the trees. We slowly pass by them, and a few feet down the road, I see it, standing just inside the tree line. Everyone else is talking about the wreck. Nobody sees the thing but me. All of a sudden, a sharp, whistling wind picks up. It's coming from the direction of the thing. It suddenly steps back into the trees and disappears. Then a heavy rain begins to fall. And that's it. That's my entire story. This is going to be my first time telling this story, so please bear with me, as I don't really know what order to tell it in. There is an entity in my family's house. It has been here with us for a very long time. We have theories on what it is, and it is very obvious to me that it is connected to my father. The first time I realized that something was wrong was when me and my brothers were eating breakfast as children. The second youngest brother, who I will call Jack, looked tired and had a very bad attitude. When my mother asked him about it, he said that he was watching him again at night. Now, at the time, this brother and the youngest brother, who I will call Steve, shared a room, and he said that there was no one there. Jack insisted that there was something there. Now, later that day I learned that he had been telling my mother this for about 3 weeks up until this point. As he seemed pretty sincere, she believed him. I could not tell what my dad was thinking though. We had a pastor across the street from us, and my mom asked him if he could bless the house. He agreed, and came over about 2 days later. He blessed the house, and then asked Jack to bring his favorite stuffed animals into the living room. He did, and everyone sat in a circle. He took the stuffed animal and grabbed a small bottle out of his jacket containing holy water. He then told us all to hold hands while he prayed, so we did, and he prayed and flipped the bottle onto his finger to get the tip wet. While praying, he made a cross on the stuffed animal's head and Jack's forehead. He stopped praying and told my brother to keep the stuffed animal with him when he sleeps. At the time, I thought it was funny that we were doing this, but we said our goodbyes, and we did not hear about him for a long time. 7 years later, me and my brothers are all teenagers. Although I didn't notice it at the time, there was a very tense feeling in the air of our house, and it was at this time that Jack brought him up again. He was still sharing a room with Steve, who told us he did not see anything, but Jack insisted that something was watching him last night. Everyone dismissed him. It started out small, like an old toy or the remote going missing, and then they would reappear 3 or 4 days later in a different room. It became more and more consistent, to the point where if something went missing, we would not even look for those missing items, knowing that we would not find them. I remember one day that my dad was looking forward to watch the game. I don't remember which one, but the remote was missing. He was pissed and had us children looking for that remote everywhere, but we just could not find it. We told him this, but he had us looking for that remote for another hour. Eventually, we gave up. 4 days later, it was sitting there, on the coffee table, like it was always there. It escalated further. Throughout this whole time, Jack is complaining about him. I find it harder and harder to go to sleep. I walk into my room, and I get an eerie feeling. My closet is a sliding closet. It is big, and has 2 sliding doors that slide to the other side to expose half of the closet. And that is where the feeling comes from, specifically the top left. I could feel it, and eventually, there was one night where I could just not fall asleep. Every time I shut my eyes, I would get more and more nervous, the anxiety slowly growing bigger and bigger inside my stomach. Every time I went back on my phone for one more video, I felt like there was eyes burning into my soul from my closet. And eventually, when yet again I was trying to fall asleep, I found I could not move. Not one finger could move, not one toe. I had fallen into sleep paralysis, one of many. My body felt tense, my whole body. My muscles felt like they were tightening. Nothing happened the first time. I did not see nor hear anything. And eventually, I was able to break loose. I ran to the light switch and turned my lights on, but I saw nothing. I did not go to sleep that night, and at that time, I did not know what sleep paralysis was, which just made it worse. The next incident of him was when I was home alone with the oldest brother. We were in the living room watching TV. Our parents ordered us pizza, and it was sitting on the stove. The oldest one went to grab another slice. All of a sudden, I hear a shaking, like a bunch of pans hitting each other. The oldest runs into the living room, and his face looks like he just shit himself. The banging was still going on, and I'm like, what the hell? He tells me to have a look in the kitchen, which I do. The oven was banging against the wall by itself. With my own eyes, I see a 150-pound oven with pizza boxes sliding off of it, banging against the wall. All of a sudden, it stops. I tactically shit myself as well, and we book it out of the house. We don't go back in until about an hour later, where we found nothing amiss. The oven was back the way it was, and the pizza boxes were back on top of it, like it never even happened. I continued to have trouble falling asleep, but I have not gotten sleep paralysis again. About a week after the oven incident, my parents brought family and friends over to hang out. Everyone was having fun, and I got the idea to ask my mom if she has ever seen anything. She has had a few drinks, but even to this day, she says that what she told me is the truth. She tells me that about 3 days ago, she was asleep, when all of a sudden she woke up. Now, she just woke up, she is still really dazed, when something looking like Steve comes into the room. She does not question it. Her only reaction was to reach her arm out and ask, "What's wrong, buddy?" This is important. The fact that she was able to move means that this was not sleep paralysis. Now the apparition still looks like Steve, and it's beside her at the bed. She puts her arm down, and now she cannot move. She realizes this and starts to panic. Then the apparition speaks. This is what she said it said to her. Mama went to heaven, and her face fell off, over and over again, until she passed out from fear. When she told me this, her face was stern, and her only reaction was to take another sip of wine. While my mom's story scared me, it also intrigued me and inspired me to ask my dad if he has seen anything either. He was never open about this ghost thing, but because he had a drink or two also, I figured he would maybe speak up, and I was right. When I asked him about it, he was slow and quiet, almost like he was still in the situation he was describing. Needless to say, he did not want to say too much and was being very careful. He told me that he sees small children at night, no more than one at a time, and that they run around the house. He says that when he wakes up in the middle of the night, he walks around the house looking for them, and then it's always a child apparition that wakes him up, as he has seen one run out of the room multiple times. He told me that one night, when me and my brothers were sleeping downstairs, he woke up again. This time, he chased it. It ran down the stairs, and my dad ran down the stairs too. But when he got downstairs, the only children he saw were us. He also says he has dreams. I asked him, what kind of dreams? Bad ones, he said. Of you and your brothers dying, of your mom dying, and of me dying. Being curious, I asked for more details, but he would not budge. He would not say anything, and he got up off of his spot on the couch and joined the rest of the adults in the kitchen. This is all I could get out of either of them for a while, but as for Jack, he seemed fine. No more talks of him, almost like it had switched targets. Things continued the same for me. Hard to fall asleep, feelings of intense stares from the closet, and objects still going missing. I don't know about the other family members at this time, but about a month later, I broke my foot by dropping a heavy-duty Milwaukee flashlight on it. I still have the damn thing. It weighs like 25 pounds. But getting back on track, I broke my foot. Things continued as normal for about a week, except that my foot was broken. I was doing switching over my laundry this day. The washer and dryer are basically in front of the stairs. If you turn left when you got to the second floor, there was a small hallway looking over the stairs, with my parents' room at the end. And while switching over the laundry, I got an intense feeling of anxiety, like something was wrong. I got really tense and I froze. The whole house was silent. I turned around slowly, and I saw a man in a tuxedo, all gray, including his skin. I could not make out the facial features, and he was blurry, but that gray apparition was in the form of a man. He is in my mom and dad's doorway, so he is only about 10 feet away. I noped the hell out of there and tried to run down the stairs. I forgot my foot was broken, so of course, I decided to jump instead. Thankfully, I did not get too injured, except for a bruise on my face. I jumped down face first. But I still had to explain to my family why I just nearly killed myself, which I did. They did not really have a reaction. My brothers went back to whatever they were doing, and my mom made sure that I was okay, and dad was at work. And I have not seen an apparition since. But that doesn't mean it's gone. I am still living in this house. These things only stopped happening about a year ago. But during that span of time, I've been able to gather information from my father. So, now let me explain a little bit of his life. He was a Navy brat, always moving around. One of these places was Guam. Guam is a very spiritual place, and the Chamorro people who lived on Guam hated my dad because he was an American, and that is why I think a Tautaumana attached itself to my father. Tautaumanas are the spirits of the ancestors of the Chamorro people. Basically, their ancestors' ghost. They usually mind their own business, but when pissed off, they will attach themselves onto a person and terrorize them. He told me that he has been having strange things happen to him all of his life, and he told me that while in Guam, he was at his house with his mom when a picture started to swing from where it was hanging and flew off the wall. He was a teenager while he was in Guam. So that is one theory I have. The second is that a dead friend is haunting him. From what he's told me, he was just a kid when this happened, no more than 12, so before Guam. He had a friend who was 16 years old. We will call him Eric. Eric was very depressed. Although he was making a name for himself, he still had a shitty home life. So one day, my dad was in the passenger seat of a car that Eric was driving. Eric told him that he was going to kill himself and wanted to take my dad with him. Eric crashed the car against a tree. He died, but my dad survived with a broken neck. It's either Eric or a Tautaumana, but either way, it has been with him for a long time. I also forgot to mention that about 2 months ago, I've been getting sleep paralysis more and more. It started out just like the first time where nothing happens. Then the time after that, I heard knocking on my door. Then the time after the last one, I felt very scared and felt a weight on my chest, pushing me down. Then the last time I got it, nothing happened. but when I tried to fall asleep again after breaking out of it, I got it again. Then I broke out of sleep paralysis again, only to fall back into it and hear knocking at my door. At that time, I gave up and just fell asleep to the sound of the knocking. Nothing strange has happened yet, but I am very afraid of what is going to happen when I get sleep paralysis again. I still feel eyes watching me, and things still go missing. My mom is going to sage the house soon, so we will see what happens. Hey, hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because it lets YouTube know you like the content and helps more people to see these videos. My next big goal for the channel is 100,000 subscribers, and as a celebration, I will be doing a Q&A video once we hit that goal. Thank you, and back to the stories. This happened to me a couple of years ago, so around 2012. I am doing environmental cleanup / a paintball trip with schools in JROTC. We split up into 2 large groups, about 50 to 60 cadets in total. I go off with the group to clean, while others get to paintball. I am cleaning up trash and stuff for about an hour or 2, nothing too exciting. This senior cadet, whom I look up to, comes over the hill. Hey guys, I found something. Me and about 5 cadets split from the rest to investigate what he found. We find an abandoned car, all shot to shit as per typical desert trash. Arizona, by the way. We all decide to check it out. We check the trunk. We get blown back by a god-awful stench. We look to see grimy rags, brownish-black splotches coating them. Something is underneath the rags. I peel off to puke because of the stench. The senior cadet, with his face in his shirt to block the stench, reaches in the trunk, tosses the rags onto the group. He yells and stumbles back. The other cadet looks in and then slams the trunk shut. Everyone else asks what they saw. Nothing good. Let's get out of here, says the senior cadet. His voice was shaky as hell. We all hike back up the hill. Everyone but the 2 who looked in the trunk in the lead. The 2 are talking. Both look really, really pale. We all go paintballing later. We don't talk about it ever again. We pack up and leave after 8 to 10 hours of cleaning and paintball. I was about 2 to 4 years old when this first one happened to me. Not sure of my actual age at this point. I was living in New Hampshire. I wake up around 1 to 2 in the morning to get a drink of water. It's a 2-story house, fairly old. I go downstairs to the kitchen. I fill up my cup with water from the tap. It's well water. I drink it as if my life depended on it. I finish up and place the cup on the counter by the sink. I get this sudden feeling of dread. I almost feel like I have an excessive weight on my shoulders. I rush upstairs and back to bed. I am still feeling that dread, but the weight is gone. I lay there for what feels like hours without any difference. I suddenly feel a tight grip around my throat. I see nothing that could be grabbing my throat. I pass out and wake up hours later. My throat has small red lines, like little fingers. I tell my mom what happened. She does not believe it, but takes me to the doctor. Those red lines were pressure marks. Another story, this one fairly recent. Around 2 months ago, I am seeing my new girlfriend. I leave her house around 8 p.m. and head home. I do some homework and eventually fall asleep. I wake up at 11 p.m. I check my phone. Text message received 10 minutes ago from my GF. It reads, "Baby, I am so scared. Please come and see me." I shake off the sleep and reply, "Be over in 20 minutes. Boyfriend mode activate." I walk 20 minutes in the dark through neighborhoods and a sketchy park. I arrive at her house, instantly, arms wrapped around me. "Thank you." I step inside, instant feeling of discomfort. She felt a hand on her ankle. It pulled her a bit. She freaked out and had been sitting in the kitchen for 10 minutes before texting me. She says that she went to see her housemate. The housemate saw white mist behind my girlfriend. She points down the hall to housemate's bedroom. Nah. I approach the room slowly. The door is slightly ajar. I peek my head inside. I look around the room. I see a form of white sitting on the closet door. Nope. I step back out into the hall. I confirm their beliefs. My GF does not want to sleep in her house tonight. Asks if she can stay at mine. I mean, yeah, sure. GF stays at my house that night, sleeps well. Went back the next night and sit in both rooms for an hour. Felt uneasy, but I saw nothing. Haven't felt or seen anything since then. I initially posted this on a different forum, but hey, I'll post it here too since I did not get much advice. So this may sound odd, to the point of borderline schizophrenia. To be honest, I ignored it for a few years. However, my symptoms are getting worse, and after a friend at a locked location, on camera, confirmed my momentary disappearances, I realized I cannot shelve this away mentally any longer. I've had small moments where things rapidly are shifted into view, almost like a photo which has been double exposed, to the point where one image gains more dominance over the other and fully replaces it, only to shift back to the original. This started out small, a few minutes gone here, a few seconds elsewhere. Usually, I would have a bloody nose, feel faint, and or end up fainting soon after returning. Body weakness and lethargy like none other. Usually remains for a few days to a week after. The first major time this occurred in 2020 for me. I was bedridden for a week. It's worth noting, I was using a DIY'd HemiSync device and audio based on the old patents I found. I doubt they played any factor, but in case anyone has theories, I thought I would provide that information. The next major time, I was at work. I was working at a closed facility, a short-term interim facility for mental health patients with my former friend. While on the floor, I sat in a chair to rest for a moment, and suddenly, I was standing on a beach for around 30 seconds at most. The next thing I know, I am slammed back into the chair, and my former friend is checking on me, saying he looked everywhere for me, that I wasn't on the cameras at all, and that the door system showed that I never used my pass to go anywhere, but that I'd been gone for about 15 minutes. The door system I went to verify myself, as our security staff always left the room accessible for us in case of emergencies or faulty badges. My nose began bleeding soon after, and I ended up leaving work for a few days to rest. I have since slowly had more and more of these occurrences, most recently as I was falling asleep and never began. I've had a strange lung sickness for around 3 weeks now. This was during the worst of it around a week ago. When I spoke to the doctor at the ER, they assumed it was a viral infection. As the time prior, they thought it to be bacterial, and the antibiotics proved useless. They made no effort to give me antivirals and instead just sent me home. I spent most of this time working regardless, as I had no fever and my job didn't care. Different job, and we are horribly short-staffed and I am poor. This time, when I slept, I was gone for several entire months. I did not process all of it fully, so it could have been a literal fever dream, but I remember too many specifics. I remembered the bar that I worked at, my favorite client's name, and the day and time he always came in, what drink he liked. I remembered struggling with paying rent, and the exact cost minus utilities, which fluctuated often, etc., etc. The hardest part was going back to work after at my normal job. It felt distant by an entire lifetime's worth. I had been living in spring of 2026, and now, I was back in 2025 in an entirely different city. I ended up crashing out. I went for a road trip on my own with my camera to that city, as I had thought of moving there anyway. On that trip, I ended up lost and out of gas, and I stopped at a bar in an industrial district to ask for help, and it was the same bar from that damn glitch/double exposure. I'm not really sure what to call them. I can share pictures of my old journal entries and sketches if that would be insightful, or at least show that I'm not bullshitting a bunch of strangers online. At the end of the day, I am absolutely terrified. This seems to be worsening, and even prior to this, I was already thinking about the what-ifs, like getting stuck in some other world line or something. Honestly, depending on the one, I would not complain, but this whole thing is freaking me out. I remember reading into JT years ago here, and I figured this is probably the only corner of the internet that is not full of bots or trolls, and that maybe someone would take this seriously and offer some insight onto what the hell it could be, and how maybe it could be happening. I'm glad to see it still exists. P.S. It's also worth mentioning that these are not very common. I've only had around 10 or so noticeable ones in my entire life, but the frequency of them is rapidly growing. Some are full shifts. Sometimes things snap over into here, and other times it starts to happen, and then it's like I will walk away far enough and the distortion ends, like a field of energy. I spoke to some trusted psychologists on it, including a close friend of mine who has known me for years, and even after relaying this, they do not believe I meet any of the criteria for schizophrenia or extreme derealization/daydreaming. And that's where my post ended. I still got the journal pages if people want to see, since I was never able to upload them because that forum sucks.